Hello everyone, how's Karen and the kids? How's Emmanuel doing at the swim meet? Today we're going to be talking about the LGBTQ. I decided to kind of not really attack the idea so much as to offer an explanation why I'm against the LGBTQ, why I think homosexuality is a sin, etc. And this is going to be less focused on facts and statistics. I mean, I'm still going to include them, but it's not going to be as argumentative, I guess is the best way to put it. So if you're looking for that thing, I have a couple of videos that'll help you out if that's what you're looking for.
It's something about the girl.
In today's political discourse, the right wing is seen as homophobic, as transphobic, etc., because they're against, well, not so much anymore. They're not really against gay marriage anymore. They used to be, but I believe just recently they actually removed it from their official party platform. But we're against, transgender care, things like that. And I think a lot of people genuinely, I'm sure there's some people that lie and that are grifters and that kind of like to paint a narrative, but I think a lot of people genuinely believe this too. So I think a lot of people believe that these opinions are coming from hate and just pure bigotry. But at least in my case, I can't speak for everybody, but I'd say it's a vast majority. I have faith that it's a vast majority. I know there are some people that legitimately just loathe gay people, but I wouldn't consider myself one of those people. I'd like to think that it's coming out of a place of concern and, dare I say, love and respect. So I'm just going to kind of explain why I think that it's just an unhealthy lifestyle. And that's about it. So first things first, I think homosexuality is wrong. And I think it's a sin for a reason. I think it's a sin because it's an extremely unhealthy lifestyle and it leads people to be miserable. At least that's what I've noticed. Gay men are...
Alright, so I actually mixed up some statistics live. The real statistics are 6 times more likely to commit suicide, 12 times more likely to use amphetamines, and 10 times more likely to use heroin
when compared to their straight counterparts. So I think there are some serious issues, coupled with the fact that around 41% of gay men have reported to have been sexually harassed or assaulted during their upbringing. Now, some people like bringing stuff like that up as kind of like a data point or whatever. It's not the route I'm going with it. I'm not trying to say that everybody's like a groomer or anything like that. I'm just trying to say I think we just need therapy. I think they just need therapy. So I think we just need to invest in therapeutic treatment and not just be so quick to affirm their homosexuality, because I think for a lot of those men, I think a lot of it's just reliving their trauma. Maybe in some way they're reliving it to give them some sort of sense of agency. Maybe it's a coping mechanism, right? Maybe if they convince themselves that they actually wanted it, it'll make them feel better, or I'm not a therapist, so I can't really, this is speculation, but I do know that a lot of people that I've seen that kind of subscribe to that sort of lifestyle, they always seem to be extremely unhealthy. And I think it's really unfair. And I think a lot of gay people, I feel aren't really gay. They claim to be, and I'm not calling them liars. I'm just saying I think there's a lot of different factors coming into play. I believe that sometimes, especially around puberty, guys are just confused because they're awkward around girls. And in the past, you could just laugh at them for being awkward toward girls. But now, people are so quick to label things as being gay, as being bisexual, as being trans, etc., etc. So I think it's really messing people up. And it's kind of, I don't want to use the word because I'm not trying to, I don't mean it in a severe way. But I think there's some form of grooming. All right. Now, I know when you hear grooming, you're probably going to be sitting there thinking to yourself, oh, here we go again, another rant about, pedophilia and the LGBTQ. That's not necessarily what I mean, though. That's not necessarily what I mean. I just mean there's kind of sort of societal pressure almost, right? And there's a lot of rewarding that behavior in society. You'll get praise for coming out as gay. You'll get not worshipped, but you'll get praised, right? And you will have this community already for being such a way. Like you have like a built-in friend group. And so I feel like maybe some people just get confused around puberty and things like that. See, I only memorized those numbers about drug abuse and molestation and stuff. So I don't have any of the numbers like in front of me right now. But if I'm not mistaken, most people that are gay, bisexual, lesbian, etc., they change their sexuality after roughly, I want to say 5 years. I want to say 5 years, but I can't quite remember. I'll put it up on screen for you guys to read it. So it's just, to me, it's just confusion. That's all it is. And so people shouldn't be pushed into that sort of thing. Also, don't get me wrong, there are genetic predispositions to being homosexual. To be exact, it's prenatal testosterone, which can not determine, but it can kind of predict if someone is going to be homosexual or trans, or actually, I mean, literally, it's the same factor that you measure that could that can predict pedophilia, homosexuality, gender dysphoria of any kind, anything like that, with that same measurement. So it's really not just what you're born as, it's also the environment you grew up. Interesting enough, prenatal testosterone, the more testosterone you have, the more prone you are to homosexuality. So basically, there are probably tons of straight people that have a predisposition to homosexuality. And because of this, I do believe that to a certain degree, it is learned. Homosexuality is learned in some manner. Although you can have a leaning toward it, it's still a learned trait. And so I do think it can be prevented. That part right there is just for those of you who want to make the claim that homosexuality, you're just born with it. That was just for you guys, and that's probably the only argument I'm gonna make. All right, everything else is just gonna be just, I don't know what you would call this. Probably just I guess an explanation. I don't know. But now moving on to transgenderism. I believe that, again, it's a lot of unwise practices, but mostly with therapists and doctors. I don't believe it's really the fault of the people that are kind of like put into those situations. And I think everything moves too fast, especially with the informed consent model, which basically says you don't need dating therapy. A doctor just needs to fill out a questionnaire on your behalf, and you're good. And you can do surgery. You can get puberty blockers. You can take HRT, etc. I think that's terrible, honestly, because you're not really digging into why people feel the way they do. Like in the DSM-5, if you actually read the DSM-5, gender dysphoria and body dysmorphia actually have a lot of overlapping traits. And so you really can't determine that someone's gender dysphoric by asking them if they're dissatisfied with their body. And that's it. You have to actually ask, like, why are you dissatisfied with your body? Why do you think you're better fit to be a girl, or why do you think you're better fit to be a boy, etc.? Because especially when you look at the diagnosis for gender dysphoria in younger children, one of the symptoms, quote unquote, is that it would be a boy playing with like more girly toys, which, I mean, that's a little ridiculous, right? And you really have to like look into these things, because a couple incidents where, you know, a guy might be like a little kid might be playing with a doll. I mean, that doesn't really, to me, that doesn't justify, like, especially parents, actually. Parents, when they see more left-leaning parents, when they see a child behaving a certain way, they kind of like encourage and they kind of push that leaning. And I think that's kind of that's the main reasoning why children end up being gender dysphoric. There was a study, if I'm not mistaken, and I can't remember the personality type exactly, but a majority of children who are diagnosed with gender dysphoria, their mothers had a very specific personality type. And I wish I can remember the name of the personality type, but basically it's similar to, I can't remember the disease either, or not. I guess it would be qualify as a mental illness. I'm not entirely sure what you'd call it, but basically where they, the phenomenon where a mother would drug up their child and make their children sick in order to garner attention, that sort of thing. So a lot of mothers and things, they kind of abuse their children in that way for attention, to garner some sort of sympathy. So I think it's really rushed. All of it's rushed. All of it seems to not really make people happy. And I think this targets especially, like, not to be that guy, but especially autistic people. People that act sort of odd, tomboys, basically anybody that doesn't like conform to like be either like hyper feminine or hyper masculine. I feel like it targets. I feel like it also targets I think it targets like girls that aren't necessarily, that aren't necessarily attractive. Or maybe it might not even be that they're not attractive. It might just be that they feel they're unattractive. What I will say is that there are a lot of girls that probably don't necessarily feel pretty enough to be a girl, and maybe that's why they want to transition to be a guy, because they don't necessarily feel comfortable in that way. And even if they do feel gender dysphoric, I feel like that's not the right answer. The right answer shouldn't be, well, let's just change your body then. The right answer should be that they should learn how to be comfortable with their own skin. Not in the way that, like, that sounded a little whatever, but I mean, parents should teach their kids that their body is fine just the way it is. There shouldn't be this idea that, oh, you don't like your body? Just get plastic surgery, like that shouldn't happen. This is a cosmetic surgery. Gender dysphoria, like, it's not a cure for gender dysphoria, because those people are still going to be gender dysphoric. It doesn't matter what you do to your own body. And of course, there are some trans people that are just have a fetish toward it. They have autogynephilia, which, I mean, I'm not really talking about those people. I'm mostly talking about people who are deeply troubled. Well, I mean, they are too, but in a different way. But there's just way better ways to handle things. And that's all I have to say about the matter, really. Except for one thing, and it's survivorship bias amongst these sort of statistics. A lot of people, they assume that the trans community benefits from all of this surgery and stuff, because they exclude a lot of different factors in their studies, like the Trevor Project, for instance. They exclude people that question their gender, but then stopped questioning it, and they reverted back before they fully transitioned. They disregard an entire community of people that detransition, because they don't really call themselves detransitioned. They just call themselves reverting back to default settings, basically. So that there's a very small percentage that stay in that sort of community after they detransition. So that's part of the survivorship bias. And it makes it look like it's just it'll make you the happiest person in the world. And don't get me wrong, you're probably gonna feel like this euphoria for a little bit. This euphoria of, like all these people cheering you on and worshiping you, basically. You're gonna feel great for a little bit, but after reality settles in, there's no this part I'm kind of speaking anecdotally as well. I can't, like, I just haven't seen anybody that has been truly happy after that. I just haven't at all. I really don't want people to make any rash decisions. I ultimately just want everybody to be happy and healthy and whatever. And ultimately, you know, it isn't really my business what people do in the privacy of their own home and things like that. But yeah, I mean, that's my opinion. To me, it's not rooted in hatred. It's just rooted in mostly concern. And that's it, I guess. And hey, if you guys disagree with me, just feel free to comment down below. Or if you want to make a video on me, you know, just be sure to mention me so I can watch it. Like the video, subscribe. If you want to, I guess. I don't know, man. Just do whatever you want. Yeah. Thank you for listening to me ramble for forever. Honestly, I thought my scripted videos were like way longer than my unscripted. I didn't realize I can actually talk this long, but apparently I can. So yeah, I mean, I might, considering how long I've been able to talk, I might just start live streaming, because then I can talk about a whole ton of topics. But you know, let me know if you guys would want to live stream too. That'd be pretty cool, I think. Even though I wouldn't have much time because I have school coming up and everything else, and then after that it's college. Woohoo! I'm already taking dual enrollment classes. That's oh boy. But anyway, that's all. Thank you all for listening. Goodbye, everyone.
And I don't know, probably some diamonds and gold, but I had some from last time, so.
Ah, really? That's it?
I think so.
I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you.
Oh.
I can't rob you. Where you at? Where you at? There you are.
Oh, who's
And we just all die. What happened?
We set you up
Where's
too.